Escape. It is everywhere. It's what we all long after when life feels overstimulating, lonely, and just too much. We go to anything and anywhere that just gets our mind off the stresses of life, what we fear the most. And at first, escape comforts us. But then, it stops becoming a break and starts replacing reality. And those problems we avoid, they never disappear. They stay open like tabs in a browser you swear you'll go back to, but never do. They just stay there piling up. You can love imagination without letting it replace reality. And now, just to disclose, I am no therapist or mental health professional. So please, don't view this video as professional advice, just a guy being real with you. Back to the video. Now, escape isn't inherently bad, and fantasy, with our blessing of imagination, is a gift. Prayer, journaling, books, playing music, video games, movies, these are not bad. I mean, look at how many incredible inventions, stories, and works of art came from brilliant minds and imaginations. God created us in His image, meaning we are also creators. And if you have a creative mind, that is a gift. And with the gifts that God has given us, we must use them wisely to honor Him with them. The point when fantasy and escape becomes a problem is when we overindulge in them, and in the wrong ways, because we start to lose touch with reality, because our brains don't know the difference between fantasy and reality. And reality isn't always pretty. It will get ugly, messy, and very boring at times. So your brain may find ways to alleviate that painful discomfort, like indulging in fantasy. And I understand that life can get unbearable at times, but those are the moments we can learn to run to God the most, instead of indulging in escapes that only delay growth. To face the fears and negative emotions, instead of having them rule over our life and have the final say. To tell our flesh that God is Lord over our minds. And sometimes, that healing looks like taking the risk to trust in God, even when everyone else has let you down. A danger that a lot of us find ourselves in is when we run to fantasy every time we feel negative emotions. We lose the motivation and drive to better our lives because why improve your real life when you can just escape to a perfect one? Running from discomfort actually trains your brain to fear negative emotions, to view them as bad, no good for us, to only focus on quote-unquote good emotions. But the truth is, all emotions are good because they are all signals communicating to us about what we care about, even to convict us. Because we don't feel so much emotion for something that doesn't matter. Often than not, when you let go of all the unhealthy coping mechanisms and vices such as fantasy, all the emotions and unresolved issues of the heart come rushing to the surface after being pushed down and suppressed for so long. Like a beach ball being pushed down underwater, only to shoot back up when it is no longer being pushed down. And this is the perfect opportunity to come to God and learn to heal with Him. To cast your burdens and anxieties unto Him, for He cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7. Along with trusted family and friends, of course, and maybe even a professional. James 1:2-4 says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." Real maturity comes when we can learn to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. Because healing never comes if pain is never faced. How do you heal an open wound if you don't tend to it, clean it, and stitch it shut to avoid it from getting worse? And what I've recently realized is that feelings are not meant to be fixed. They're meant to be felt, even when it hurts, because healing starts when we tend to the wound, not avoid it. And like muscle tissue, when you work out, micro tears in muscle fibers begin to form because of the stress being put onto them. But after, it is not only healing of those micro tears that comes, but the strengthening of those muscles for better endurance, to prepare for whatever stress may be inflicted on it next. Trials are not easy, but suffering has a purpose. It chips away at the fear and weakness inside us, as God builds new, stronger material in us that makes us steadfast, producing the fruits of the Spirit like hope, long-suffering, kindness, faithfulness. In this life, we will suffer no matter what, but it is up to us if we want to have that suffering work in our favor by surrendering it to God and obeying Him, or not, and have that suffering go to waste and not trust God with our pain. Because overindulgence in fantasy is only a breeding ground for dissatisfaction, passivity, and disobedience. Because in fantasy, we have all the control. In reality, not so much. Proverbs 6:9-11 says, "How long will you lie there, you sluggard? When will you get up from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and poverty will come on you like a thief, and scarcity like an armed man." This passage isn't just a warning about slothfulness. It's a call to wake up and face the habits and responsibilities you've been escaping from, the healing that needs to be done. And now, I might get a little personal, so you get what I mean by fantasy being dangerous. So, for me, escape looked like living in my own head, quite literally. I would imagine an idealized version of myself, more friendly, confident, less insecure, all that jazz. It was motivating at first. I saw it as an identity to embody, but then I fell into the trap of feeling like I was making progress without any risk. I indulged in this fantasy, only imagining that desired version of myself. Heck, even creating romantic scenarios where I had a girlfriend because I was so convinced that I could never have that in reality. I was afraid of the immense uncertainty of the future. Sometimes I still am. And just like I said earlier, fantasy can distort your view of reality. And I know many people, especially around my age, deal with this. And I've realized after a while, that kind of mindset can either help us move towards that desired version of ourselves, or only keep it a fantasy. By putting the work to maintain that identity only in our imagination, but not putting in the work to become that person in reality. When we choose an idealized version of ourselves, someone else, or maybe even a made-up person in our minds, and pay more attention to that than what is real, we have created an idol. And as we know, anything you put before God is an idol. And God is a jealous God, and He will not compete with idols, especially things that don't exist at all. Not to say that an idealized version of yourself is bad, but daydreaming about that, instead of focusing on the work needed to become that, is hindering our growth. And I'm gonna be real with you because someone may need to hear this, but for about 2 years, I've used ASMR as a coping mechanism to cover the pain I was trying to suppress. And no, not regular ASMR like rainfall or fireplace, even though that would be nice. I was addicted to girlfriend roleplay ASMRs. I had a lot of unresolved trauma and pain I'd been pushing down for years. So these audios felt like the only safe space to go to. No judgment, loss, or rejection. I listened to these because of the overwhelming thoughts of not being good enough, of not even being close to the version of me I desired to become. I was already grieving something that I didn't even work for yet. So in these audios, I would essentially view myself in that desired version already, which of course became dangerous because I was tricking my brain into believing I already was that person without the hard work or any of the risk. Growing in my imagination, but staying the same in reality. And even to this day, I still struggle with wanting to go back when life is too much. But I've learned something powerful, a perspective shift. It is indeed possible to become that desired version of myself. I just had to let go of the belief that it wasn't. And I didn't actually want a girlfriend. What I really wanted deep down was to be seen, loved despite all my flaws, chosen and accepted. And Jesus was offering me all of that the whole time. The only one holding me back was me. But now, I find myself directing that energy from my fantasies to God. Because if you got time to fantasize, you got time to spend with the Lord. Your fantasy might look completely different from mine. Maybe it's not even about love or loneliness at all. But whatever you've been escaping to, I'd be willing to bet there's something deeper that has been trying to fill. Our brains are wired to keep us safe, so they will push us towards what is familiar, comfortable, even if it's the very thing that is killing our future. And if we live in fantasy long enough, that starts to feel safer than reality. We begin to disassociate, drift away from true growth, and from God. We put a pause on the very things we know we are called to do. Paul says in 2 Corinthians 10:5 to take every thought captive. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God. And we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Notice that, every thought. We often create fantasies of a life outside of this one because we are dissatisfied, hurt, or lost. This is why God calls us to come to Him, to trust in Him that He has a plan for us, that He can heal us. He wants us to be in the presence of His love, mercy, and grace, which holds the purpose He has for us, the healing and the growth, to turn our suffering for our good, the purpose we long for in this life. That's why so many people are depressed and lost, because we seek meaning and purpose in this life beyond ourselves. But sometimes we suffer so much that we lose hope. But the Lord is our Redeemer. And something I've realized is that the thing we avoid the most isn't always some big task, but one that requires looking inward at what is eating at you the most. Maybe it's a fear you have of the uncertain future. Maybe it's a dream, a calling that seems too risky or impossible. Yet that feeling, the vision, never fully goes away, but your courage does. And many times, it's not even Satan that kills our dreams that God has given us. It is ourselves, with our avoidance, distraction, our ignorance of what God's word says because we never get into it. And we may not fear our dreams, but we fear the process of following them because that takes a lot of work. So they only stay stuck as an imagination, a fantasy. The real issue isn't why we want to escape, it's what we escape to. And God, He is our ultimate escape. God invites us saying, "Come to me, return to me, rest in me, seek me." And when we do, He will grant us the peace that surpasses all understanding. And even if it doesn't come right away, trust that it will, because He is trustworthy and not man that He shall lie. Now, let's talk about what fantasy steals the most from us. Proverbs 12:11 says, "Whoever works his land will have plenty of bread, but he who follows worthless pursuits lacks sense." When you indulge in fantasy, it not only has an effect on your mind, but also your time. Our minds, through neuroplasticity, can change, but our time, which is our most valuable asset, if it is wasted, no amount of money, charity, or any kind of sacrifice can buy that back. Pastor Jerry Flowers Jr. said something that changed my perspective on time management. He said, "If you're going to be tired, at least be tired for the Lord." Meaning, at least be tired for reading your word, or praying, or focusing on the heavenly task you've been given. Be tired for a meaningful purpose, and not for fleeting pleasures and vanity that will never be tangible or fruitful. We must use our time wisely, because time doesn't wait for anybody, and we must honor the one who is outside of it. No amount of fantasy or regret can change the past. Many of us believe that the smallest choice made in the past would make a dramatic change in our future or our present, but fail to recognize that the smallest choices we make now will make a dramatic change to our future and the future of others. That sacrifice to get in your word instead of reading your romance novels, that adds up. Doing the thing that you believe God has called you to do instead of indulging in all your escapes and vices, that adds up. Change is only impossible if you believe it is impossible. Even with the little you may have, be a good steward of what you've been given. Who is faithful with little will be faithful with much, and whoever is dishonest with little will be dishonest with much. There comes a time where we must choose whether to make change a reality or keep it a fantasy. So, I encourage you to be still, look deep within, no distractions or stimulation, just silence in your emotions and thoughts. Grab a journal and a pencil or pen. Write down what you've been running away from. Maybe it's fear of your future, your past. Maybe you fear something you regret. Maybe you fear being behind on life. Maybe you fear being alone forever. Whatever it is, write it down to get it out of your head. Because what the devil wants is for us to be in our own heads instead of being in reality. Then pray with God and ask Him to help you with not only overcoming fantasy, but to overcome your deepest fears, regrets, and worries. Pour your whole heart out to Him, even your lack of trust, your trauma, whatever it is that's eating at your soul. Ask the Lord to reveal to you not the whole path, but just the next step He wants you to take. Even if all that next step is to just let go of fantasy and to embrace reality, one day at a time. Ask Him to reveal to you the gifts He has placed inside of you. Maybe it's to be a writer, an artist, a teacher. Whatever it is, God wants us to use what He has given us for good, for what is holy and not fleshly. Growth happens when you face your fears and what you avoid the most. And I'd rather you be a little uncomfortable in reality than comfortable in a life that isn't yours. So my friend, embrace reality, because fantasy only steals the beautiful uncertainty of life. And that's what makes life feel like such an adventure. The uncertainty, the suffering. You know what you have to do. So don't delay it any longer. Don't let fantasy steal your life. And better yet, don't let fantasy steal your destiny. So love you guys, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace!